But I've said before, if you're able to basically concentrate and chant, if you're able to do it constantly, if you're able to basically bring Krishna into your life in some fashion or the other, every moment of your life, then at least, you will basically have more happiness and less misery. Or at least when you have misery, it'll minimize whatever thoughts we have, whatever miseries we have. So when we basically bring about Krishna into our daily life at every moment, it is tough, but it happens with practice. So the Prachetas basically practiced for 10,000 years to basically, austerities, performed and practiced austerities for 10,000 years underwater to basically see Krishna. So all we have to do is chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and make sure we involve Krishna in our everyday life, in every aspect of it. I think that is basically the key message of this verse. So, what is the ultimate success of devotional service? You come to the temple, we pray, we chant rounds, we offer bhoga, we do a lot of seva for Krishna. So what is the basically ultimate success or benefit of all this stuff? Is, your austerity will be rewarded by the Lord's presence with you always. Presence doesn't mean necessarily it's going to be in front of you in this form, 400 or 200 or 800 form, but He'll always be there with you and help you out. Not materially all the time, but the material benefit is also possible, but spiritually He'll help you progress faster. So that way you can think of Him all the time. So that is the obviously ultimate goal for all of us if you're born in this world. Okay? So that is verse number 4. So what's verse number 5? So verse number 5 translation is the personality of Godhead appearing on the shoulder of Garuda seemed like a cloud resting on the summit of a mountain known as Meru. The transcendental body of the personality Godhead was covered by attractive yellow garments. His neck was decorated with the jewel known as Kastubamani. The bodily effulgence of the Lord dissipates all darkness of the universe. Alright, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, chapter 22, verse 31, recited this verse. Krishna Surya Sama, Maya Haya Andakara, Yahan Krishna Tahan Nahi, Mayara Adhikara. So what does it mean? The Lord is just like the effulgent sun. Consequently, whenever the Supreme Personality of Godhead is present, there cannot be darkness or ignorance. Actually, this darkness is illuminated by the sun, but the sun and the moon simply reflect the bodily effulgence of the Supreme Lord. And also in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse number 8, the Lord says, Prabha Ashmi Sashi Surya. I am the illuminating energy of both the moon, the sun and the moon. Alright. So what is the significance of what does this verse actually indicate? Alright. So after 10,000 years of austerity, the Prachetas were actually able to see the divine form of the Lord. Okay, we will basically cover it in the next two verses also. But He showed up with His 8-armed form. Alright. So a lot of austerities, 10,000 years of austerities to see Lord Krishna's pure form. Alright. So as I talked before in the previous verse, also, if we basically concentrate on Lord Krishna, meditate on Krishna, involve Krishna in our life, we will also basically have Krishna backing us all the time. His form, I don't know, we will be able to see his form hopefully in our dreams at least, right? Even if He doesn't appear before us. But He'll always be next to you. That is the message. Performing our austerities. Our austerities, or if you chant, you're spending 8 minutes around on average. If you chant 16, that's more than 90 minutes, right? Almost 100 minutes. You're sacrificing 100 minutes. That is the austerity you're performing. You're coming to the temple. Both Mataji and Prabhuji, you're walking minutes walk, spending an hour and two in the temple. Okay. So basically up and down 3 hours. So there is 3 hours of sacrifice of your own time. You are basically doing it some form of action, some seva, some service, some meditation, some austerity for Krishna. Alright, all this is sacrifice. So think about it, what you do. If you read 5 verses of Bhagavatam every day, 5 verses of Bhagavad Gita every day, 5 verses of Chaitanya Charitamrita every day, that will take you 20 minutes, 30 minutes if you read the word by word translation, if you read the translation, if you read the meaning of every word, if you read the purport. You don't have to count the number of chants you do when you count. You can just chant. So involve Krishna, and he'll always be behind you. So here it basically describes the appearance of the Lord. He came as his full splendor. And the other thing is also like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, when the sun comes, the darkness disappears. So we all see that, right? When the sun immediately comes, even the clouds go away. The darkness disappears. The same thing, when Krishna comes, all your miseries disappears. Okay, it's happiness all around, right? Nothing else. And you're not thinking about anything else either. Even in the misery, you're not thinking about that. The miseries only happen when you start thinking about it. When you stop thinking about them, there are no miseries, right? That it's all happiness all around. So that is the key message of this verse is, when Lord appears, misery disappears. When the sun appears, darkness goes away. And so his body effulgence is described as destroying the darkness of the universe, right? Representing the dispelling of ignorance of divine knowledge. We are all educated, materially educated, but we are all completely ignorant most of the time of the teachings of Lord Krishna. I can personally tell, right? I picked up a Bhagavad Gita only after almost really to read. I always had a Bhagavad Gita at home, but I only picked it up after 2018. Why? That is when basically this temple was inaugurated. Right? So when I started coming here, I started reading. Bhagavad Gita was always there at home, but never spent much time. So that is ignorance. It teaches you a lot, not just on the spiritual life, but how you can lead your life in everyday life as well, in everyday matters as well. But that is ignorance. We don't know about it, and that is where basically, thinking of the Lord, meditating on the Lord, performing austerities for the Lord, will basically dispel your ignorance. Your ignorance is the material life is all about this life. That is not true. Spirituality, spiritual life means a lot. Lord Krishna is always present, right? The soul is everlasting, and the soul is Krishna, right? And but we don't basically get ourselves involved. The soul is always there. Soul is eternal. We are not. And in our time, do we think about Krishna all the time? Probably not. And that is where basically your performing your austerities and all that stuff can help keeping him at the top of your mind, at the top of all of your activities. Alright, let's go to chapter 6 translation. The Lord's face was very beautiful, and his head was decorated with a shining helmet and golden ornaments. The helmet was dazzling and was very beautifully situated on his head. The Lord had 8 arms, which each held a particular weapon. The Lord was surrounded by demigods, great sages, and others with shields. They were all engaged in his service. Garuda, carrier of the Lord, glorified the Lord with Vedic hymns by flapping his wings. Garuda appeared to be an inhabitant of the planets known as Kenaraloka. Okay. So normally we basically hear about, or even see in the photos, Krishna either with just 2 arms or 4 arms, right? The 4 arms basically have a mace, have a lotus flower, have a conch, and then have the chakra. But here, the Lord actually appeared. It's described that he appeared with his 8 arms in front of the Prachetas after the 10,000 years of austerity. Alright. So what is he holding? What is Lord Krishna or Vishnu holding? The 4 hands are holding 4 objects, which we normally basically hear, see, and talk about, which is the conch shell, the disc, the club, and the lotus flower. So, but here, Vishnu is described as possessing 8 arms with 8 kinds of weapons. Alright? 4 hands hold 4 kinds of weapons, and the extra 4 hands hold an arrow, bow, trident, and a snake. Alright, so this is described as the 8 weapons: Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma, Shringa, Sara, etc., which is basically what's there in the verse as well. So, normally, even if you take, so it's described here that the Lord was surrounded by demigods, great sages, and others. I mean, we see in our day-to-day life too, right? I mean, it depends upon, when I take the president, when he walks, he doesn't come alone, he's always surrounded by people. You take anybody in power, anybody in leadership, it seems like they're always surrounded with somebody. If you take a CEO of the company, when he walks, at least there are a couple of people next to him. So people in power and position always have somebody around. And Krishna is the absolute power. Krishna holds the absolute top position of anybody and everything. And the people surrounding him are his followers spiritually. All right, they're all singing praises of the Lord. If you take our material life, if you take a president or any leader of a company, just because people are accompanying them doesn't necessarily mean they're actually following them. Not actually thinking good things about them. They have to do it. They're following because they have no other choice. They have to do it. But here, Krishna's followers, it's not like they don't have a choice. They're following him because he's Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu. All right. They're all performing basically austerities. They're all thinking about Krishna all the time. So wherever Krishna is, they're also there. And that is basically the key message of this verse, number 6. As I said, this verse describes the Lord in all his splendor, right? 8-armed form. So why is he basically being described? People talk about Krishna as a human being, a Krishna with 2-armed form, 4-armed form, 8-armed form, whatever it is. So this verse establishes the personal nature of the Supreme Lord, how he is, what his opulences are, refuting the impersonal concepts. He's not impersonal. Impersonal means there is no form, there is no figure, right? Here it is clearly described, his figure, what he is wearing, his effulgence, the garlands, the weapons he carries, everything. So that is a personal feature, not an impersonal feature. A lot of people talk about the Lord being impersonal, no form, nothing. But this verse, the main significance of this verse is Lord is not an impersonal feature, but he's got a very opulent feature. That is what it is. Alright, verse number 7, translation. Around the neck of the personality of Godhead hung a flower garland that reached to his knees. His 8 stout and elongated arms were decorated with that garland, which challenged the beauty of the goddess of fortune. With a merciful glance and a voice like thunder, the Lord addressed the kings of Prachina Ganeshan, who were very much surrendered unto him. Alright, obviously when we see such a form of Krishna, even when we sometimes come to the temple, we get immersed right after even seeing the deities of Krishna, Radha Krishna, deities of Lord Jagannath, Baldev Subhadra, Narasimha, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, even Srila Prabhupada and all the acharyas, and sometimes we get immersed in it. So in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna basically realizing Krishna's greatness when he sees his forms, right? He addressed him in such a way: Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan, Purusham Shashvasam Divyam, Adi Deva Ajam Vibhu. So what does it mean? You are the Supreme Brahman, the ultimate, the Supreme Abode and Purifier, the absolute truth and the eternal divine person. You are the primal God, transcendental and original. You are the unborn and all-prevailing beauty. This is it. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse number 12. And also Brahma Samhita, Brahma also says in Brahma Samhita, Anandhi Radhi Govinda Sarvakaranam Karanam, The Supreme Lord is not caused by anything, which is known as Anadi, but He is the cause of all causes. The Vedanta Sutra says, Janmari Asyayata, the absolute truth is the form which everything emanates. The absolute truth is described in Adi Purusha. The absolute truth is therefore a person, not impersonal. And who is that person? That person is Lord Krishna, Lord Sri Krishna. And that is the significance of this verse number 7. That He's come and displayed His opulence, his personal form, which proves that Lord is not impersonal. He has a form, He has a figure, He's very opulent, He dresses very nicely, He has multiple arms, He can hold multiple weapons, He's got a conch shell, He's got a lotus, He's got a mace, He's got the disc, and He's always decorated beautifully. Alright. The Prachetas did 10,000 years of austerity to accomplish Lord Krishna, to see Lord Krishna. Alright, as Srila Prabhupada in his purport in verse number 4 also said, this is Kali Yuga. It is difficult for us to even do 10 minutes of complete austerity, complete concentration on Krishna. And that is where basically the Hare Krishna Mahamantra comes into play. So Krishna is very accessible. That is what this verse is all about. Before you had to do years and years of austerity because you could live long and you could really concentrate. You could sustain yourself with just the air. We struggle even doing fasting on Ekadashi. It's pretty difficult. There are some people who don't even take water during Ekadashi, but it's pretty difficult. So how can we perform austerities for a long time without taking anything and just living just on the air? That's not possible in Kali Yuga. We won't survive more than a couple of days, or probably a week. But this is where Srila Prabhupada says, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brought it in 500 plus years ago, chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Alright, that will lead you to Krishna. Krishna will appear before you. He will support you. He will be behind you in all your activities. If you are focused on mind, you focus your daily activities around Krishna. So the significance of the last verse, as I said, is basically the accessibility of Krishna. He's there when you want him. Obviously, if you basically perform austerities. And as I said, our austerities are not Prachetas kind of austerities. Even the demons in those yugas used to perform great austerities. Okay? They were also able to, even though they were demons, their wish was completely something different what they wanted from the Lord. But when they basically focused on mind, they were able to focus it on the Lord. Probably they never focused on Lord Sri Krishna. They focused on Shiva, they focused on Brahma, but they were still able to basically focus. Even the demons were able to focus them. But it's very difficult even for normal, good, quality human beings to focus in this life. So I basically covered all these 4 verses because all these 4 are interrelated. The next verse, verse number 8, Krishna starts speaking, so it will be completely different from these 4 verses. But what does these 4 verses together signify? Alright. Which everything else signifies. It doesn't matter whether you read Bhagavad Gita, it doesn't matter whether you read Bhagavatam, it doesn't matter whether you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, it doesn't matter whether you read any of Srila Prabhupada's book, it doesn't matter if you read any of the Vedas. But what is the ultimate teachings of all this? What is the ultimate goal of all the scriptures? Right? What is the ultimate goal of all scriptures? If you read all this stuff, it's as I said, it's austere. You're performing austerity because you're sacrificing some time in your day-to-day life to the Lord. Okay, so that is our way of performing austerities. So all these 4 verses indicates if you perform austerities, Lord's presence will be immediately felt, and He will relieve duties of the material fatigue. Alright? I mean, that is what all these four verses signifies. That is what everything signifies, right? If you all the spiritual scriptures, everything signifies that if you focus your life around Lord Krishna, by default you're performing austerities every minute, every second of your life. Then the Lord will bless you with His presence. Okay? As I said, His presence doesn't necessarily mean that He will show up in a 4-round, 2-round, or an 8-round, opulent way in front of you. But as I said, you will always be able to feel Him. Alright? And obviously, that is the ultimate goal for all devotees and all human beings. That should be the goal of all human beings. Why? It will basically relieve our material fatigue. Alright? So as I was saying, all these four basically covers the austerities which we can perform and how Lord Krishna will appear before you. Haribol.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
thank you.
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama